Aerojet is the airline you fly when you absolutely refuse to spend more than $90, but you absolutely positively have to get to Tallahassee by 5 o'clock.
Your favorite regional airline?
Aerojet. All middle seats.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Welcome back. It's been a week. Tony Covey, Chris Nickel, Golfspy T, Golfspy C. We were just in Carlsbad, Tony. Now we're back. How was it?
Yeah. Well, we got ice cream at Handle, so that's never bad. Ran into Ian and Matt from TXG. That was good.
That was good.
The guys from Pete's Golf, we bumped into the TaylorMade, and that's my go-to recommendation for pretty much anywhere in New York these days for people looking for a fitting. So that's always cool too. See Sonny Burgo and the gang.
Yep.
So yeah, man. And then obviously golf equipment, kind of the primary reason we were there. So
I thought it was for Handel's ice cream, but as
you may have, you did damage as per usual.
As per usual is fantastic. But yeah, really, we were out there to see, right, kind of all the new 2023 stuff. Some of it still embargoed. Most of it still embargoed, I guess, which is actually embargo is French, right? For everybody else.
You cannot talk about it.
You can't talk about it, which is so awkward, right? When the whole world knows what we're talking about, but we want to be respectful of those boundaries. We can't say certain things by name until certain dates and things, even though
it's especially weird for the one driver we can say by name or product line, the Ping G430, because it's been released for like a month, 2 months in Australia and Japan and basically the other side of the world, and here we are in the US, and it's like,
right. But we can't talk tech details, some specs, some naming things, some material. So
no soup for you.
So we won't. No soup for you. But what we will talk about a little bit is, I thought we'd kind of frame it as, are we more or less excited about some of these companies and kind of the 2023 lines?
Definitely, what we saw? Maybe, perhaps, or possibly not.
Yes. That's like...
Or no.
At Handel's Ice Cream, when the lady said, would you like the medium or large? I said, yes. There's your answer. So let's start with Ping. We got there. It was rainy, which was very odd for Phoenix. But
what is up with that?
I don't know. Maybe it's just us. It rains when we go to Phoenix. It's cold when we show up in San Diego. But we saw the 430 stuff. Hit all the 430 stuff. Like I said, it's out in parts of the world, not in our parts of the world just yet. Based on coming in, Tony, more excited about Ping next year or less excited?
It probably depends on the specific product within the family. So irons, perhaps. Driver ever so slightly less excited. Yeah, from the tip of your cap to the top of your eyebrow, just that little bit less.
Why?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think just because part of the way the conversation is with the driver, the stuff we can't talk about, what's going in it, I want it to be absolutely wowed, which is a tricky proposition in the driver category with everybody operating in the USGA's tiny and almost seemingly shrinking little box. But it just didn't like blow me away. And I think, and that's partly on me for setting myself up to be blown away, kind of expected to be blown away just because of how Ping is talking about things. But ultimately we know also that Ping is measured and steady. And so that's probably me pumping it up in my head more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's a little hard. It's kind of like when stocks, companies set their earnings reports, and value can fluctuate based on, did it meet the expectation, exceed it? You could still have phenomenal earnings, but not meet what Wall Street thought you might do. And so it's seen as kind of a positive negative, if you will. That's kind of where I put Ping in that, like, since 400 and 410, those two lines in particular, both of which I was super, super impressed by.
400 was...
in particular.
That's kind of the benchmark, that 400 LST where I just hit it and I was like, wow, oh my God.
That wowed me.
I love this Ping driver.
Yes. And I wanted, obviously 410 came out almost a kind of a 6-8 months later than expected because it was taking that long to iterate and really try to improve on
the LST. Yes.
It was that good. The LST lines, but yeah. And kind of wanting that same thing, right? So being like, okay, what is it this time that's going to take ping and do that and have kind of that aha type, like, oh my word, you did it again. And didn't necessarily sense that or feel that. It could be, haven't hit a club in a little bit. I came straight from stream song. So in my case, it was I played a lot of golf in 3 or 4 days. I was pretty tired. You hadn't hit a golf ball in 2 months or whatever. So knocking some of the rust off.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Is trying to refine the golf swing and maybe not getting the most out of that product on the range in that particular situation. So this is definitely not the final word on the driver by any means, but like I said, it wasn't like what the 400 LST was. Yeah, and that's tough. You don't expect that really.
There were two
ever,
things,
honestly,
though, Tony. There were two things that I walked away from being really impressed by, though, where I was like, ooh, number one, some fitting stuff they have coming out. This idea of really understanding holistically how to fit a bag of clubs. I feel this is probably going to be a totally separate topic at some point, but industry shifts around distance being the only selling point versus distance as one of the selling points, but really looking at gapping, bag composition, all these things. Ping has some new things that they're coming out with from a fitting standpoint that I thought was phenomenal for the consumer. Like I think it could elevate Ping back to maybe where they were previously in that conversation was, at the very, very top, if not several steps ahead of where some others are. And then part of that is this new Focal system, or I think they're calling it Focal. I keep calling it Focal because I think it kind of reminds me of a speaker company, but it's basically for you gearheads out there. It's Enzo, kind of on steroids, or Enzo as
cranked up to
applied
11.
11 out of 10. Crank it up, and we'll get into more. But it's a 3D motion capture system that basically allows Ping to look at the relationship between the human, swing, and equipment and understand how all of those variables impact one another and try to find and kind of delineate what that performance might look like. So how far are we from Ping doing something like building their own shafts, things like that? Not that far necessarily.
No, I don't think so. And that, I think this is probably, again, I think G430 will prove to be a really good driver lineup, Metalwoods lineup. In fact, I think the fairway woods are probably more interested in a Ping fairway wood than I've ever been. So that piece is
Are you going to read my article, Tony? Are you going to read my article?
I might read your fairway wood article when it comes out. I'll skip over the hybrid portion. Let's not go nuts here, but I will absolutely read the fairway wood portion. But I think when you start talking about, Ping today versus the Focal system and what that's potentially going to do for them in future and how that will impact future products, I think down the road there will likely be some really exciting stuff to come out of here. But yeah, right now I think we're steady iteration of that, what is really the G4X franchise. Not disappointed, not blown away, but kind of bullish on the future, maybe.
Yeah. And as always, testing will be what it is. We'll see when this is just, again, are we more excited or less excited? So we hop on a plane, spend a couple days there, hop on a plane, go right into Carlsbad, get off the plane, and we go to Fujikura and Evenroll.
You went to Evenroll.
I went to Evenroll.
I went to Fujikura.
So you tell me about Fujikura
was
first.
Almost, I think they were happy to see me go.
Is that specific to Fujikura, or is that just like Carlsbad in general?
Yeah. A little bit of everything, but yeah, no, I think
more excited or less excited
for Fujikura.
Yeah, Fuji.
Again, ever so slightly less excited, and it's just because of a subtle thing that we can't talk about yet that they decided to do. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so it's a little thing. I think ultimately it may not prove to be that big of a deal considering the audience for, can we say graphite iron shafts?
Yeah, we can say that.
I just said that. All right. So for an upcoming series of graphite iron shafts, that concept in particular has me very excited. So like I went in there really excited. And so I went from way up here to maybe here, but I'm still like really excited about the product, but just a tick less excited if I can continue to talk in meaningless riddles.
Right? It's nebulous terms
But I
searching for
can't
a
tell you why
definition.
yet. Stay
Right?
tuned.
I yeah, and
Embargoes are fun.
oh god, they're just my favorite. I'm bullish on Fujikura in general. So excited as to where some of these things are going. So purely from a product performance standpoint, and some of these things are things that we've had our eyes on and been looking at and maybe even testing behind the curtains a little bit for a while now. I got my first look at these. Some of these things I actually got a chance to hit some of them over the summer. Uh, and I very, very optimistic on the performance side of it. And I think, you know, all the other stuff is going to be what it is. And like I said, we'll once we can talk more in specifics around those, we certainly will. But from a product performance standpoint, and I know ultimately that's what some listeners will care about, and others will want to know some of the other details. Thumbs up. Yeah, very, very bullish on that part. So
I'd agree.
walk across the street. Let's go down the street. Let's go to Even Roll.
I didn't go to
New
Even Roll.
building.
I have nothing. I have
So you're-
nothing to contribute. So yeah, I'll go get a bagel or something. You talk us through it.
So Even Roll, I am slightly more excited because this was something unlike some of the other products and things. I had no idea what they were going to show us. Literally did not know what the product was going to be. And again, can't talk about the specifics of it yet, but it's I have to be careful with how much I say because I don't want to give away too much. But
We love embargoes.
a slightly new design philosophy that potentially takes into account some of the key criticisms, I guess, of Even Roll over the years by some players who may have opted for putters from competing brands. Have a
so
plan.
vague. This is the
We're gonna
the
play
no
a game
putts
called
given the
Guess What I Can Talk
tap
About.
dance edition.
I mean, yeah, and it's not because we don't want to, but very, very excited. The design elements on what they showed us are phenomenal. They did it visually when you get to the nuts and bolts of it, just a wonderful, wonderful job. If Even Roll has not been a brand of choice for you, or you tested it previously and there's something about it you didn't like, perhaps from a sound and feel perspective, I have reason to believe that that's some feedback that they heard and have addressed. So what that means specifically, again, we'll be back. But very excited.
Just gonna have to
that.
call this the Big T's edition of no putts given.
Oh my gosh, I know. Just start.
Sorry guys, we're like excited and we can't say anything. It's a bad place to be. But
It is.
welcome to mid-December.
Damn it.
In the golf industry.
That's where we're at.
Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. Cobra. We went and hung out with Cobra. I had seen some of this stuff before.
You had
more or less.
We can say Aerojet because
Why?
it is on the USGA conforming list.
Oh, Aerojet.
Yes. Aerojet.
Okay. More or less excited about Aerojet, Tony?
As a product line, yeah, this was of the stuff we hit. Having not hit the paradigm yet.
The what?
Yeah. This is the one that I'm most excited about. And
are you more excited now than you were before?
Absolutely. And if you were to have asked me before we left, say, hey, rank your excitement level for all the stuff we're going to see, knowing what we were going to see, this one would have been pretty low on the list. Yeah. Maybe one spot above the Titleist TSR1, which I was only not excited about because it's absolutely no way that driver is going to be something I'm fit into. That's
right.
It's a product that's entirely wrong for me. I know it's wrong for me. So
it's me going to a vegan restaurant.
Right.
excited about.
I'm not going to be excited
What's the
about the
point?
tofu, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it was low on my list, and then having hit it, it's now of the stuff we've hit so far. Again, there's one notable from the big guys that we haven't hit, but
Yep.
of what we've hit, that was the one to me that I was like, whoa, okay. Um, yeah, this one, I like the direction they went in last year, addressing sound and feel problems within the lineup, and then this one kind of taking some stuff out to do a little bit more. And yeah,
Rad speed, really good. Sound feel, lacking.
trash speed.
LTDX series, fix the sound and feel part much, much better. And now you're saying that Aerojet, potentially a step again in an overall right direction.
Yeah, that's the one that I was most impressed with in terms of the total package, kind of. And again, when you move from place to place to place, you're dealing with different launch monitors and systems that may not
Sure.
be familiar, and so you don't know what the holes are, and if there's anything in what you're seeing that isn't quite real. But some of the numbers I was seeing in that limited test,
Mm-hmm.
and just the way it felt, this to me was, it's up there. And again,
Yep.
environmental conditions play a part in it, but
Yeah.
it felt good to me. I love the way the ball came off the face. I'm excited about this one.
Yep. Me
Even
too.
if
Even if
Aerojet is the airline you fly when you absolutely refuse to spend more than $90, but you absolutely positively have to get to Tallahassee by 5 o'clock. So that's
your favorite regional airline,
Aerojet.
So maybe not in Wild on the Name.
All
but
middle
hey,
seats.
oh, yep. It is the names are what they are, and we have fun with those. Ultimately, it will come down to performance, and this is one I'm again after hitting them, I'm very very excited to test in the wild on my own when we have app launch monitor with again kind of as we do our own tests, which we'll talk more about as we get into the new year, how we kind of
When you can
decide
take all
on
the noise out.
take all the noise out. See, I'm very optimistic. So I'd say definitely more excited. Cobra, definitely more excited on that one. Um, obviously seeing what they have in the iron lineup as well gets me more excited. I think they're trying to do a couple things that maybe they haven't done in the past, and I think ultimately that's a good thing. And when we talk to other R&D people throughout the industry, I do think there's a respect for what the team at Cobra does and how they operate, and so I think there's a level of fidelity in what they do that we'll see. It may lead to performance on a larger scale of our testing. It may not. We don't know that, but definitely optimistic.
It's kind of a ragtag group of overachievers, which obviously we can relate to. So,
I was going to say, who are we talking about again?
yeah, no,
But
it's
yeah, specifically, we're talking Mike Yagley, Tom Olsavsky, T.O., Jose Merflor, their team over at Cobra.
Kelly and Caitlin. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
What
Right.
would you trade for? What would you give me if I could magically somehow transfer Caitlin's golf swing to you?
My gosh. Caitlin's golf swing. If I could have her golf swing, tempo, rhythm, athleticism,
The tempo is so far beyond what I'm able to
a
even conceive for myself.
it would look so weird on this body to be that smooth and powerful. But
You do
two
not scream
things.
smooth.
I do not scream smooth. The first place I go, I mean, I have 7 kids, so I could certainly give up one of those. I would give up my hot tub for a month.
Ooh. All right. All right.
Not forever. I mean, the
Just a
swing's
month.
gorgeous, but it ain't. Yeah, I mean, I
It's
don't
not
know.
lifetime hot tub great, is that?
No, it's not. I don't know anybody's swing. Is that great? Huh? What would you give up, Tony?
I can't even conceive of it. It's so far removed from my tempo.
Would you give up one of your Dobermans, one of your dogs?
Boy, on the right day, I probably would. You know,
Or on the wrong day?
while we were out there, one of them ate the Roomba. Like, chewed a wheel off it, chewed the brush, and I'm torn because I hate the damn Roomba anyway. But
In all fairness, those Roombas are scary as
oh,
hell, man. If I were a dog, I mean,
they're the worst. They suck, but now I know I got to pay for replacement parts and all that nonsense. So anyway, I would give up a Roomba for it for sure. There you go.
sure. There you go. We went from there over next couple days. Got a chance to hang out with TaylorMade. Got to see the Kingdom revamped, relaunched, redone,
Ooh, yeah.
reinvigorated,
Juiced.
rejuiced.
All
We
the
did
track men at the Kingdom.
all. Yeah. So what? Tell people.
I don't. Are we? Is this? I don't even know if this is embargoed or not. But we'll keep it. We'll keep it kind of sort of vague, just in case we're not supposed to talk about this. But they have retooled the Kingdom, adding a whole lot of trackmans or trackmen,
trackman units.
all in the interest of increasing their capacity or capabilities to test golf balls. So really, kind of. I mean, it's cool technology to begin with, but if nothing else, it sort of really shows you how committed to the golf ball category TaylorMade is now. So they aim to be a serious player. I think you could argue it's not really an argument. I would say they're already there now. Some weird stuff with the current balls. We've talked about it before, but definitely improving brand. We talk about vertical integration, right? They bought the Nassau factory, so that is 100% TaylorMade owned. There's a whole dedicated wing of production, I guess you could say, at Foremost, which we know has historically just churned out some really good golf balls. So I think a lot going on in that space. And while we haven't gotten the deep dive on what we assume will be a new TP5 and TP5X, that's what the calendar says should be coming. I think there's reason to be excited about it. There's reason to believe it's probably going to be better, both in terms of performance and quality, than what we saw with this current generation. So, yeah, I maybe coming out of it more excited for the product we didn't see than what we did.
Well, and in all transparency, this current version, this current line TP5, TP5X, a lot of question marks for me. In some ways, I felt like it was a step in an odd direction. I don't want to say backwards because I'm sure they were headed towards a certain target or place, but there will be times, right, where companies, even the very, very best companies, they look back at a generation of products and go, maybe we missed the mark on that a little bit. Maybe it wasn't exactly where we wanted to end up. And if they were to say that about the current version of TP5, TP5X, I wouldn't be surprised at all. There's certainly things in there that I don't understand. I think a lot of other people were like, I don't get it. And again, smart ball people in the industry going, I'm not sure. That being said, I'm going to hold reservation, obviously, until we see if this is, things are on pace for that. And if we do see new product in that way, what they come out with, because what we saw, at least to me, indicated that there's no reason we shouldn't expect a big step forward from.
Well, they have some
generation.
hardcore toys down there in R&D that, as per usual, we were not able to take pictures of or show off. But
I know
it's so frustrating. Like, we would love. That's always like my biggest wish is for readers, listeners, everybody, everybody who engages with Mygolfspy. I wish they could come and see some of the stuff that we get to see, and certainly think it would blow some minds. And yeah, it's just, I mean, almost, it's been a while. Well, we were there last year, but I think this is just kind of following. There was a gap in our visits to TaylorMade, a sizable
couple presidential administrations worth of gaps, but
yeah, we didn't go there for a while. But I think not just in terms of kind of how they're really digging in on the golf ball and trying to transform their business there, but as a company in general, just to see kind of the evolution from the Adidas days to kind of that weird spot with the private equity firm, and now kind of the new owners, the Korean company, and just kind of how that culture within the company is changing as well. So yeah, just interesting stuff happening at TaylorMade.
Yeah, like I said, cautiously optimistic on the ball stuff for sure. How about on the equipment side? We got to hit irons. We got to hit metal woods. again, we can't say too much about the metalwood part, but we can about the irons. They're out.
Most of them. Teaser.
3 of them are out.
Yes, there
Right?
are 3 new TaylorMade irons this year. And your teaser here is that it's not really even a teaser. I printed it. TaylorMade says this is going to be a massive year for irons. And, we know about 3.
Mm-hmm.
I just hinted at another.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say is if you look at the calendar and knowing what previous cycles were, you should maybe think that a P790 will be coming later in the year. That's what the calendar suggests. That's
Right.
what the past tells us.
Right. Right. Best behavior or best predictor of future behavior, perhaps being past behavior. Check your calendars. Look at that. What did you think of the new iron? Like, based on what you saw, just the iron part, more excited or less excited? You wrote the article on them, you saw all the stuff, but then you got to actually hit them.
Yeah, the surprise for me, I would say slightly more impressed
Okay.
because, like, the MB, you know what you're getting there. 770, kind of know what you're getting there. The MC was the surprise for me because I'm generally MCs are typically boring, and I know purists love them, but for me, I'm like,
I
all right,
love them.
there's not enough sex appeal in there to kind of get to that blade status where you're like, ooh, and there's not enough technology that you can expect, distance gains and high levels of forgiveness. And that said, though, it was absolutely my favorite of the bunch. The only issue for me, we could not get the spin down to where I needed it, and I'm a high spin guy, you know that. And this was one where you're just looking at the numbers. I would have loved to hit that side by side with Philip, who runs our test facility. He tends to be on the super low spin side, and I would suspect that with a 7 iron, if we were to hit them side by side, same head and shaft, there's probably 3,500 RPMs between us on the 7 iron. So I was like,
which is a lot.
yeah, I mean, it would have been good spin for a pitching wedge. Like, it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
like mind blowing, but I'm like, yeah, I could have played that. It would have been
Yeah.
adequate. And so to see it with a 7 iron, I was like, oh, this feels so good. Yeah, I kind of like the way it looks, especially at address. But man, I just couldn't get the spin down.
Yeah. In that, I love that player's cavity back space. Favorite designs of all time for me often live in that space. Like, Mizuno, the MP64s, one of my favorite designs of all time. My Euro CB, the 57s, certainly fit in there, and there's a whole lineage in there. I don't know that I'm ready to put TaylorMade in that category just yet, but the same thing. Muscle back, kind of know what you're gonna get, and again, so much of that is preference on the player. Do you like to see a lot of offset? Not many muscleback players do, but Adam Scott sure does. He loves to see a little bit more offset in that. Tiger likes a little bit longer blade length. Other guys like it a little bit different. So much of a preference kind of deal. But in that kind of player's cavity back space, TaylorMade talked about investments and kind of what it's doing from a forging standpoint. They didn't.
You know what they wouldn't talk about?
Yeah, they wouldn't tell us where they were forged. Nope.
Tried.
We tried.
We tried.
We asked. But the story of what they were saying in terms of why they're using the outlet that they are, the manufacturer they are, is very reminiscent of what we've heard from Mizuno, Endo, Ippon, Miura, maybe Fujimoto. Some of these two agree, talking about things like grain structure and what they're able to do to manipulate how a club feels, paying attention to the harmonics and frequency and pitches and things like that. So TaylorMade's really paying attention to that, and I'm not saying that they weren't necessarily paying attention to that before, but they seem kind of all in on, hey, if we want this to be a big iron year for us in that space with maybe a little bit better player, we have to do some of these things that maybe some of these other companies are doing to get to that point. Now, whether or not they're willing to articulate some of, like, that's kind of that catch-22, like how big, what part of the story is that, and how important is that to the story? We'll see. But I was a little bit more excited about the irons after having
the one we can't talk about is such an unexpected departure for TaylorMade.
way depart.
That one too again, maybe not for me, but still like, all right, okay.
I boy, I'm going to be very interested to see how people respond to that
Yep,
because
for
it
sure.
is, uh, yeah,
The least
yeah.
tailor-made iron I've seen in a long time, and that's a good thing.
In this case, I think that is a good thing, but we shall see. How about on the metalwood side? More excited or less excited?
So we're going the other direction this time around with the metalwoods. Actually, I would say if we're just talking driver, we go from the top of your eyebrow to the brim of your cap. And I think if we're talking about the fairway wood, the yeah, we go a little higher there. I think, yeah, I'll go right there, like that.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair. Fairway wood, mega, mega changes in some regards. I know. And it's weird, right? Because, like you said, tens and tens of people read my fairway wood article because
Any given one, there'll be 35 comments, or excuse me,
abs-
35 views, not comments.
thank you. Some companies pay a lot of money for videos that get 600 views.
Yeah.
So, what
Hey,
of it?
why not?
Why not?
Yeah, I
Uh,
was that one. The three wood's intriguing, as we said, and then the driver. I think here I was expecting a Stealth 2.0 hard stop, and I think maybe got a Stealth 2.1, 2.25, something in there, just a little bit more than I thought I was going to get. But I think if you were to ask most sensible golfers, or lay it out for them and go, hey, we have this innovative product, the 20-year journey.
right,
What do you think comes after that?
right. You're
You know,
21,
what I mean, however you want to frame it, is it a
right?
21-year journey, or is it a 20-year journey followed by a 1-year journey? And I think that's probably the more apt description here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not mind blowing, but just enough there in the conversation where I was like, okay, that's cool. That's not what I was expecting to see. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
think
think, if you talk
80% of it.
about, let me tease something here, because
Ooh,
if we
I like
think
when you
about
tease, Tony.
industry trends, what are we seeing? What are we hearing? Aerodynamics. Everybody's
Arrow.
just bang, bang,
Everybody's
banging the
talking arrow.
aerodynamic drum for
Yep.
sure. It kind of tells you where things are headed, and where we're really starting to butt up against limits.
Yep. Arrow.
And then the other piece we're starting to see are different slash, I don't want to say recycled, but kind of going back to it, just different ways to integrate carbon fiber into designs. So how about that?
How about that?
And I think that's kind of another thing we're starting to see here,
Mm-hmm.
as we start to try and, again, squeeze weight, materials, get weight, do some different kind of things.
Yep.
Sometimes the application dictates the material, and why you have to kind of get a little creative and innovative with how you use that carbon fiber. So some
Mm-hmm.
cool stuff coming down the pipe, couple different places there. So yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year we knew, Taylor would say they're all basically all in, right? New era, carbonwood era, line of demarcation. You have pre carbonwood era and now post carbonwood era, and we're into, call it year 2 of post carbonwood. So you have to think they're going to go down that path, and how much can actually change in 1 year. So I didn't expect a ton of changes. A couple of them, make an awful lot of sense to me, but I wouldn't expect golfers to look at the new product necessarily and go, "Oh my gosh, that's
Stealthier.
yeah, yeah." But
Stealthier.
and again, in fairness, Sam, I don't expect that. That's not a reasonable expectation. So, but like I said, fairway, I'm way more excited about because
Yeah.
of a couple of things that they did, and again, looking at and revamping some things. I don't know if TaylorMade's ever made a bad fairway wood. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure you could find one if you
I'm sure you could find one, but it's hard. It's hard to think of one.
arrow burner.
Okay, it wasn't hard for you.
No, that's easy.
But when you look at their fairway woods in general, I'm generally very impressed with that. And this one, I'm looking at going, man, this from a fitting standpoint, there's some things that you're going to be able to do with this that I don't think you've been able to do before.
I think it's quietly, as we talk this through, it's quietly going to be a pretty good year for fairway woods. We always talk about drivers, but I think this year we may see some fairway woods that are
some
different
sparks.
and as exciting as fairway woods can be, and maybe we'll get the number of eyeballs on your articles from the 20s and 30s all the way up to maybe the 50s and 60s.
If we crest 1,000, it's going to get weird. So
high fives all around.
high fives,
Hey, buddy.
all around. So there's TaylorMade. So yeah, we got some of that action. How about titles? We kind of finished up our trip, at least with Titleist, and like we said, the TSR line is out, has been out, has been really, really well received. I think I currently have TSR 3 driver in the bag. Love it. It's been fantastic. What can we say? More excited? Less excited? Same excited?
Yeah, roughly the same excited. I said we are allowed to say TSR 1. We were allowed to say TSR 1 when 2 and 3 came out. We were allowed to acknowledge that it is coming out. So
okay, good.
Yeah, we can say TSR 1, and again,
Perfect.
That's not one that's typically for you and me. And instead of going through a full fitting experience, all I did was have one of the marketing guys stick an autoflex in it, and I just swung it as hard as I could right up until the time the fitter came and took it away from me. So I mean, that was
That's why Tony can't have nice things.
It's really that was my TSR 1 experience. It sure was fun to just try and swing really hard, and I think we know what that's for. It's still going to be a lightweight driver. I think we're allowed to say that. So kind of know what you're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
There's some it's TSR hybrid time. So I think that one's intriguing because my personal feeling is for the last couple of iterations, Titleist is maybe throwing some noodles, trying to figure out where they wanted to be in the hybrid space.
Mm-hmm.
Last time the TSI 3 maybe kind of overcooked it in terms of really kind of shrinking it down and making it almost peanutish. So I think again, it's tough to get really excited or any kind of excited, maybe even a little excited about hybrids. But if you're looking for a hybrid, I think you're probably going to want to take a look. How's that?
Yeah, and I think particularly in the space of two things. One, I got to hit Jessica Korda's prototype driver. Literally, the only other person on the planet that had hit this driver before I hit it was Jessica Korda.
There is no way JJ didn't hit that.
I mean,
I know that's the story.
It's a much better story, Tony. If I'm the only other person, it's a much better story.
You know how a couple of those guys are there. If they see something, they're picking it up and hitting it.
Yeah, I know. But it's a much better story.
Josh.
In my world. But that was really fun to see a tour player setup of the one, and obviously fitting is what it is, and it's a different. Hers is modified a little bit, but I almost hit some of the workers on a tarp towards the end of my session that I didn't think I could get to, which was really kind of fun. That was neat to see people scatter a little bit. So
I once also almost hit a worker at TPI when I shanked an iron into the adjacent hitting area. So it's almost the same thing there.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool. And I think the other place I think that's interesting is the hybrid space. And what I mean by that is we've seen an influx in the last year or two of the 7-wood on tour. There are people like yourself who call the 7-wood a
cheat code.
And you're seeing better players with higher swing speeds. Maybe not who you would think would play a 7-wood, loving the 7-wood. So call it that 21, 22, 23 degree, in terms of the static loft space. But that doesn't mean you can't attack that with like an oversized hybrid, right? Or an undersized fairway wood. And companies are going about it different ways to say, in general, hybrids have been smaller, and in general, fairway woods have been larger in terms of the volume and footprint and that thing. But there's kind of this interesting space now, right? Of this, call it 7-wood space or the hybrid space, and how companies are addressing that. I think when we can talk more specifics around some of the TSR hybrid stuff, I think Titleist has a really kind of cool take on what it's trying to do there, just to give players more options. It's not necessarily taking something away or saying, hey, this is going to be uniformly better. Again, hybrids, fairway woods, really, really tough to be sexy and caffeinated and all these things around those. Ooh, hey, whatever. But
Yeah,
for
it's
people that
always
are,
like I guess maybe I need one of these. This one's as good as anything else, right?
yeah, yeah, but to go from that matching luggage idea of oh, I play this fairway wood, okay, might as well play a hybrid or two from that company, to really thinking about each of the 14 clubs in your bag as having a specific and different job description. And for people that really want to get fit or really think through that, go, okay, what do I really need this club to do? Uh, there's going to be more options next year and better options, I think, than we've seen in the past. And then we walked over to the short game area, Tony. This is us walking to the short
I
game
mean,
area.
it's I just love the short game area at TPI. It really is one of my favorite places in the golf world, if not in the whole wide world. It's just yeah, just I don't know.
It's incredible. But what can we say about that? More or less excited based on what we were able to do there. I'm already saying I'm way more excited.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm the
super way
same.
more
I'm
excited.
the same excited because kind of knew what was coming, and it's not like again we're not gonna change the world in the wedge space. I can't say what is coming, but I will tell you what isn't coming. You're not going to see a wedge with the best finish ever on it. So
What?
no, there's no slate blue in this pipeline. So that's what I was kind of like, show me the best finish. And they're like, no,
Crushed.
no.
Hopes,
So,
dreams,
we'll get by.
crushed.
We'll try and overcome that and see how that plays out. So apart from that letdown, yeah, solid. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's not, and I don't think it's going to get sold as world changing. Just a little bit of expansion, ease of access, that kind of thing. So good things, all positives, but yeah, the best finish is not in the offing, and that's what I wanted to see. I was like, just show me something in slate blue, and they're like, nah, man,
Can't do it.
no,
A little bit of a Debbie Downer there for you, but we
I'm
got
sad.
to spend some time with Aaron Dill, AD,
Yeah,
the
that was a
wedge,
treat,
the
absolute
wedge
treat.
guru, the not even heir apparent to the Vokey franchise. I feel like we're full on transition now from. I mean, Voke's still around, no doubt, and rocking and rolling, but AD is the man on tour. He is the unquestioned go-to guy for the Vokey Wedge franchise for all the tour guys, and um, he knows just a phenomenal amount, and that's fine. But what I was really impressed with was how quickly he could articulate some of the differences. Like, hey, we're looking at this A versus B, this versus that, and he's going through my wedge setup, asking me questions, helping me understand some of the differences, and um, I have no doubt he's doing it the same way he does with Justin Thomas or Jordan Spieth or whatever, saying, hey, here's how we do this, here's why they use this, here's this, that. And for me personally, I that was just the coolest experience. I thought that was really neat. Nicest guy on the planet, super helpful, and spending some time with us going through that stuff I thought was cool.
It's kind of awesome too, being out there working with Aaron, and then like I bladed one, right? Just put the blade into it, and
Yes, you did.
it wasn't like really close, but it was kind of close to hitting a Jeep that was up in the parking lot.
It
And then,
wasn't not close. Like when it
right, it
took
was,
off, there was a moment of
it felt like it was in play.
it did.
And
Off
then,
the blade, it was like that Jeep may be in trouble, but it
right,
wasn't.
so we're out there working with Aaron a little bit, and I almost blade one into a Jeep. And then Aaron's got to take off. He's got somewhere to be. So we're wrapping up to go to the other side and hit the metalwood stuff. And then Aaron just walks right up and gets in that Jeep that I didn't hit, and just drives away. So I was like,
Didn't mention anything that you were hitting balls
yeah,
at his car,
yeah.
not on
So
purpose, but
that could have been awkward, but instead it's just kind of amusing. So
Yeah,
I didn't
and
almost not hit Aaron's Jeep. Anyway,
well, and just the stuff they're doing at TPI, they're under a large renovation. Like we
massive.
mentioned, back to TaylorMade, they renovated, did a lot of stuff. Like I said, with the Kingdom when we were there last year, it was shut down, dug up. They did massive amount of improvements in there. TPI is under a
It's a scene right now. It is an absolute scene.
Yep, it's a massive undertaking in terms of what they're doing to revamp it. Part of it is done, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get back out there and see it again, maybe this summer, and kind of check in on progress and updates and things. But what they were talking about with the short, I mean, you love the short game area now, based on what this thing might look like or could look like, and will look like. I mean, arguably, it might become the best short game teaching, learning, fitting facility on God's green earth.
I think that's the objective. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Final thoughts, takeaways from the trip, Tony? Overall, more impressed, bullish on the equipment releases. We got about 812 articles. We gotta start piecing together here.
Jesus, like you say that jokingly, and like I know. So I've been assembling kind of the embargo story list this morning, and we are currently, and man, like there's stuff that I know I don't know about. I know there's more, and we are at 38 and counting right now.
Oh.
Excuse me, 37. I misspoke. So 37 stories that we will have to write. From the date range here is January 20 or January 4th to basically the end of that month, I think, is where we're at. So, yeah, 26 days.
4 weeks.
We're gonna be,
26, 27 days. We're going to have.
Talk about front loading the season. I swear, if you were to like release a product in like March 19th, you'd have the whole world to yourself.
You'd have the entire media world to yourself.
I mean, guys, just circle January 10th. If you're a gearhead, just circle January 10th on your calendar, because it's as juicy of a day as I have ever seen. Like, this is just.
What are we going to be at total, do you think, for the month? You said we're at what, 37-ish now. We know there's stuff that we haven't heard about that we'll hear about. There's probably a couple things that we're thinking about that we'll likely hear more about. I mean, 45's
in play. 45 is in play. Oh yeah. I mean, if you're gonna set a number, 44.5, that's probably a good
Vegas over under.
Right there. Yeah. I don't know how you write half an article, but maybe you just get done and be like, you know what, that's enough of this.
Get the intro, couple talking points, copy and paste, and away we go.
There you go.
No, Tony, we will not do that. That's not how we operate. We will give you guys.
You know what? Let me add one. I think it's probably going to be a little later. It's not going to be probably January. Probably. I don't know for sure. We don't have any details. Like I said, we didn't talk about, but I don't have TaylorMade golf balls on this list, and I'm extremely confident they're coming. So,
like you said, 45 is going to be in play probably before we know it, and it's going to be a push. But we do. That's what we do. We love the gear. We love bringing you guys info on the gear. As
January 10th.
Circle it. Red letter day. What's our next trip, Tony? Early January?
Yeah, early January. Unless we try and cram another Carlsbad trip out. We need some learning we still need to do, but I think early January is probably where it's at.
Okay. All right. Well,
head on out, sample the light beer and the fajitas.
I'm sorry we couldn't tell you more today, people. I'm sorry we couldn't be more specific, but we
big tease episode
of the No Putts Given. We'd tell you, but we'd have to kill you. So we will do our very best to answer any questions, comments, thoughts that you have. Golfspy T, Tony Covey, Golfspy C, Chris Nickel. Until next time, we out.
See you in Tallahassee.